What is up, guys? Adel here with Traders Brawl in collaboration with Web3 TV. We are live at the Dubai Crypto Community Meetup. I got a special guest with me, Naren from Lamina Labs. Naren, how are you doing today?
Great. How about yourself?
Very well. Thank you for being part of the show, for educating people. So let's get straight to it. Tell us a little bit about Lamina Labs. And actually, first, how did you come up with the name Lamina Labs?
So Lamina basically means like a sequence of layers, you know? And so now in just Web3 and DeFi in general, there's like so many different layers, right? L1.
Chain layers.
Exactly, yeah. And so we're like basically building a product that enables people to leverage their assets across all layers, you know? Wherever there's yield, they're going to get it from one platform. So we thought
layer 1, layer 2, layer 3.
Whatever it is. So that's kind of why we were like, okay, Lamina is an appropriate name because, you know, it doesn't matter where on chain you want to like make money. You can do it on one platform.
Is Lamina actually a Latin word or is it English?
I think it's a geographical term or like, yeah, from geography, you know, like sequence of layers. Maybe it has a Latin origin. I don't know.
And what stage are you at with is this a startup? What stage are you at the moment with it?
We're pre-seed stage. We're currently raising our funds, and also we're being incubated by a startup lab. So that's where we're at right now.
Interesting. So walk me through it like I'm a 5-year-old. How does it work that, let's say a client would like to onboard and use Lamina Labs? How would they be able to onboard from start to finish and start being able to provide value across all chains?
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So let's say the client already owns a ton of BTC, right? Bitcoin. Like he's been in crypto since like 2010. He's been mining Bitcoin.
I wish.
Right. Same. But today, like it's very difficult to use your Bitcoin on chain to earn yield. For example, like on Ethereum, there are different, you know, like protocols like Lido staking, where like you can stake your Ethereum and earn, you know, stable yield. But on Bitcoin, it's difficult to do that. And so Bitcoin users have to like depend on centralized exchanges to earn yield, right? And ever since the FTX collapse, there's been a lot of like expose on like all the risks involved with holding your assets on a centralized exchange. So users prefer on-chain activity because like there's more they can do with their assets on-chain, you know? Like I said, with like staking and restaking and all these different protocols. I don't know if I explained it.
And no, that's fine. By on-chain, you mean decentralized. So a shift from centralized to decentralization. Is that what you mean?
Exactly, yeah. Like when I first got into crypto, I just bought Bitcoin on an exchange, right? But I didn't know that I could send it to a crypto wallet and then actually use it on a blockchain and all these applications powered by the blockchain. And that's when I realized, wow, there's so much you can do by taking your assets on chain, on a blockchain.
So you've decided to use the Bitcoin blockchain in particular. Why the Bitcoin one as opposed to others?
Good question. So Bitcoin, as we all know, is like the most decentralized blockchain out there. It's technically the first, right? And so like its network is really spread out, and because of that and its immense hash rate, it's like one of the most secure and censorship resistant. To build exactly like on top of L1 Bitcoin, it's not difficult. You can do it. It's just that it wasn't meant, you know, it wasn't built for powering applications. And so it's not the best for that, like in terms of speed and transaction costs and everything. Like we have other blockchains like Ethereum that were specifically built to enable applications on them, right?
Polygon.
Yeah, Polygon, Solana, Avalanche, all these different chains. But that's why we're building on Bitcoin L2s, right? There's this whole new world of L2s that are building on Bitcoin by leveraging the Bitcoin network's decentralization as well as security and connecting them with like the EVM chains. So they're basically like bridging the best of both worlds. And so that's kind of why we're building on these Bitcoin L2s so that we can leverage the security of the Bitcoin network, and at the same time we can finally offer utility to Bitcoin holders. So Bitcoin can go from a store of value to like a utility token potentially, just like Ethereum tokens and Solana tokens.
Interesting, because And I love what you're doing. One of the things that has come to mind is, the ordinal NFTs, right? Which were on the Bitcoin network. And there's been, I think, mixed views on this. On the one side, great, an NFT-based platform that's on Bitcoin. On the other side, it's clogged up, the transaction speeds, the network itself. It costs a lot of time and congestion. So for that reason, there's been some mixed views about that. How do you feel about that?
Good question. There's been heated debate between like the developer community as well as the miners, and some call it like spam, like they're spamming the network with all these, like
saying that it wasn't meant for this. It was meant to be a peer-to-peer system.
Exactly. So that's the thing, right? There's like this huge split between like the miners and dev community as well as like the ordinals community, and that's kind of why we were, like when choosing to build, we were like, should we really like build on L1 and continue clogging the network, or should we like build on L2? And I think both sides, like the ordinals community as well as the miners and developers, each have like valid points. Like for example, like if you look at how the Bitcoin network functions today, right? It's basically through the miners. And so miners are currently incentivized through these block rewards, right? Which, by the way, reduce every halving, right? And there's only like 29 more halvings until the year 2140 or something, after which miners' only source of revenue will be from transaction fees. So right now, miners love high transaction fees from all these ordinals, right? Because it's like profitable source of revenue for them. But going forward, once like the halving rewards are like completely done, which is a long way from now, but regardless, they need to like, diversify the revenue. And so I think that's where Bitcoin DeFi will come into place, where like they can earn stable yield on their Bitcoin without having to like sell it or anything like that, I could totally be wrong about this, but we're still super early. But yeah, so like that's kind of why we're like trying to build utility for Bitcoin holders, on an L2, so that we are like offering better user experience than on L1, right? So like you have much faster transaction speeds, lower costs on an L2, and technically you would not be clogging up the network, because like now what these L2s are doing is they're using zero knowledge rollups, right? So like
explain that for the audience.
Okay, zero knowledge rollups. This is very complicated. I guess what these zero knowledge rollups do is currently people are spamming, right? They're spamming the Bitcoin L1 blockchain with like thousands of ordinal transactions. What these zero knowledge rollups do is they take these 1,000 ordinal transactions off of L1, they roll them up, and then they verify them onto the block, like Bitcoin L1 blockchain, with like a 300 byte proof. So they're reducing the size significantly and not clogging up the network. And so transactions can like process a little bit faster. So that's kind of what ZK rollups are aiming to do. There's once again huge debate in the community between whether these self-proclaimed ZK rollups are actually able to verify and prove these transactions on chain or not. And so it's still too early, So like that's kind of why we're like starting out with the application, like a decentralized application that can be chain agnostic, right? So we're not going to choose initially what L2 or network we're going to like fully focus on, because we believe in like a multi-chain feature and interoperability. So we're chain agnostic, and we're like I said, like Lamina, you can like transact on multiple layers through us. So that's kind of our philosophy.
Very interesting. I learned something new. So Naren, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again for telling us a little bit about ZK rollups, especially zero knowledge, by the way. So it's not meant to show the actual transactions, it's just meant to show that there's proof that these transactions took place and reduce congestion.
Yeah. So like that's I guess to explain zero knowledge proofs in simple terms is like let's say today like I want to like trade on Binance or Bybit or something. I need to KYC, right? So like I gotta like
submit your ID
and like send them my ID and stuff, and then they probably use a third party to like verify this information, and then they probably hold it on a database, which, as we've seen time and time again, has, you know, these databases have been exploited, and so
leaked.
Exactly. So your personal data is out there on the dark web and everything, and people can use that against you with all these scam calls and everything, right? Now with zero knowledge proofs, essentially what you can do is you can prove, you know, that you're Adel or whatever without actually having to give them your data. So like essentially what happens is there's, let's say, like a zero knowledge proof identity processor, whatever. With them, you like verify your identity with your selfie and copy of your ID and whatever. And then anytime you want to like use a service that requires KYC, it uses that ZK proof from that ZK proof, you know, identity processor. So you don't have to again and again give your like...
Think of it as a stamp. Like as soon as you've done the KYC first time, you get a stamp. And that stamp is now used as, okay, you're over 18. We don't need to check your ID because your ID contains so much information. Date of birth, nationality, passport office, many things like that on your passport. You don't need to reveal all this stuff. You just need one thing, date of birth. And you don't even need the actual day. You just need month and year, technically speaking, in the ID. So why show all of this, right, to a security guard who may use it against you, or who knows what they might do it, when all you need to do is show one simple thing.
Exactly. And the cool thing is, because it's zero knowledge, they won't even, you know, see like the personal stuff. They'll just see that, okay, the information checks out. It's verified that, you know, this person is who he says he is. They're not going to know if it's Adel or how old he is and his date of birth. None of that. They don't need
personal stuff.
Exactly. They just want to know if he is who he says he is, and if he's not, you know, if he's not on the OFAC list for committing crimes or whatever, you know. So it's pretty straightforward and simple. So you can see how that improves the user experience as well as protects people's privacy. And yeah, it's pretty hot right now, ZK world. Like a lot of investors as well as a lot of startups are focused on bringing ZK technology to like on-chain.
Tremendously good. Thank you so much for sharing that insightful stuff to the audience who are new to the space. As you know, we're a podcast service, so we're here to educate. So thank you again. Thank you so much for the interview.
Absolutely, mate. It's a pleasure being here.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this insightful, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.